I think we're finally gonna get to plant the rest of the garden today. We're actually not trying to beat the rain. We've got some popcorn to plant, dried beans, and a couple other things. Michelle was gone for the weekend helping her sister move, and she came back to a few surprises. So I think while I get these rows marked out for planting, Michelle should give you a tour of everything that's going on in the garden so far.
My tomatoes grew like crazy since I was gone. I actually pruned them for the first time yesterday, which was super fun. I've just got 10 of those going on here, and they're just coming up to the top of the trellis, so soon I'm gonna be able to like secure them to this cattle panel, which is exciting. My asparagus continues to go crazy. I think Cody may have possibly neglected it a little bit while I was gone, so there's some big tall ones, but that's okay.
Yeah,
there's
twice.
Yeah, there's still lots of them coming. My potatoes grew like crazy while I was gone. I was really blown away by how crazy these things went while I was gone. I hilled them and weeded them a little bit yesterday, so they're looking super good. These broccolis are getting massive, which is a really good sign. I like it when the plant gets really huge before they set any broccoli. That means there's gonna be a really big broccoli head. And my sweet potatoes that were looking so sad the day before I left, they are looking actually really awesome. I took the buckets off because it's really warm here right now. You can see they're like shooting out new leaves, and the sad looking leaves are still there. I have about 20 sweet potato slips already planted, and I have another 20 coming. Oh wow. My cucumber and butternut squash seedlings are looking super good. I'm gonna have to like go through and thin the seeds because you can see that a whole bunch of them came up more than I need. So I'll go through and thin those. I'm surprised that they came up that fast. They were up in like 4 days. My basil bushes are continuing to grow. Oh, and my beets are up. And if I would thin those, they would take off. If my peppers get buds on them when they're this small, I like to just pick those buds off. I like the bush to get really big before they put buds on. I need to get tomato cages on these peppers. Still not a single garlic shoot came up. I think I'm gonna take this out and just plant something else in here. I don't think they're gonna come up. This bed is looking amazing. I mean, check out these big plants. My cabbages grew like crazy. I have a few butternuts that came up. A few of the hills didn't come up at all. These were seeds that I saved myself. A few of the hills have like 3 or 4 of them, and this one has none, so I'm not sure what happened there. These currant bushes are going crazy. They have tons of currants on them. We have pink champagne currants, and we just got these because we thought it would be cool to have perennial bushes with things that do really well in our climate. I don't do a ton with these currants, but I do make like a preserve, like kind of like a jam, and it's really good. It tastes a little bit like rhubarb. This was by far the biggest surprise. The thing I was the most excited about is our strawberries are ready. They're big and beautiful and so sweet. They're all picked through already because the kids keep coming out here with buckets and picking all they can find. The corn also popped up while I was gone, which is super fun to see. Once it's up a little higher, and then I'll go through and make sure everything is thinned out. This place needs a lot of watering. I need to get sprinklers on it. It was really dry while I was gone. My herbs are taking off like crazy, and I actually have some calendula flowers to harvest, which is very cool. These make the prettiest lotion. I've grown these before and made lotion with them. So much fun. I'm so excited to have this herb garden this year. I've got parsley and chamomile, calendula flowers. I have lavender, rosemary, sage, echinacea, and oregano over there. And they all really took off while I was gone. They really got established. Cody was very sweet and planted a double row of Patterson onions for me. And actually the onions that I grew myself are looking really good. I'm actually quite shocked. They really took to. As always, my rhubarb plant is a champ. It looks like I'm gonna have fresh rhubarb to be adding to my strawberry jam that I'll be making hopefully next week. And I wish I could give you an update on my rows of carrots, but Cody has a story to tell.
I just realized that I did something very, very dumb. And if you're an avid watcher of our channel, you'll probably know what it is before I even tell you, since I'm standing in this spot in the garden. Michelle is gone right now. She went to help her sister move in Kansas. And while she was gone, she wanted me to plant the onions that we got in. And so I did. I planted this double row of onions right here. Did a really good job too. She wanted me to for sure remember that there were tiny onion plants planted next to the big onions there and not to hoe those in or anything. And I remembered that. I didn't touch those onions. I planted this in a nice double row next to it. Everything was all good. And I had noticed that this area of the garden here was really, really weedy, and I wanted it taken care of. So I had Izzy come out here with a wheel hoe and take out all the weeds. Totally forgot that we had just planted carrots here like a week ago. So Izzy just totally wheel hoed all those carrots. Michelle's gonna be home here in like less than an hour, and I think she's gonna kind of flip out. Hopefully she'll be happy for the onions that are planted.
Cody ordered a bunch of new carrot seeds, and they should come in the mail this week. And this really truly will be totally fine. I mean, I do another separate planting yet in the fall, and so these will come up. It'll be totally fine. And just as a side note, we don't talk about our trees and stuff very much, but this is a hazelnut bush that we planted when we moved here. And this year it is like looking exceptionally good. It's really amazing, actually. It doesn't look like Cody ate very much salad while I was gone, because there's enough salad greens in here to feed an army. Everything just went crazy. Things are actually starting to bolt, which is annoying. I'm gonna cut this dill back, probably save a whole bunch of it, and then cut it back, and hopefully it'll bring some new shoots. The cilantro is also going crazy. These windows are here. They used to be right behind the house, but Cody made a massive surprise for me while I was gone. I'll show that to you guys. Voila! This is something that we've been just dreaming of. We cleaned it out, and I knew that we were gonna do this at some point, but while I was gone, Cody built this frame and filled it with gravel and put a fire pit on and a picnic table. And I came home to this beautiful patio area behind our house that like overlooks our gardens. Super, super excited about this. I can see us like eating lots of meals out here, and it's just really fun also that it overlooks the gardens and stuff.
We have planted black beans and kidney beans in the past, but in recent years, we just haven't had the space for it. But since we took out a bunch of asparagus here this year, we do have the space now. The only thing is, the soil where the asparagus was isn't the best. It's like slightly compacted and stuff because it hasn't had like a lot of amendments. When we plant stuff that we till the garden later, we add compost and stuff, but that didn't happen as much with the asparagus. So we're really excited to be planting these beans this year. It is really good for self-sufficiency because you plant it, you harvest it, it's dry, you just put it in a bucket, there's no preserving. So it's a really good self-sufficiency food, but it hasn't been as much of a staple for us like potatoes and sweet potatoes. So it's something we're willing to put in not quite of a nice spot and it not do quite as well as some of the other things that we really, really rely on.
So I want you to plant these about this far apart. You put one there and then about one right here, okay? See that? I'm gonna say it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 inches apart. And these are Tiger's Eye beans. They're very pretty. You can see they've got like, they look like a tiger. Here again, you could be using a seeder. You absolutely could. I enjoy the process of hand seeding. We just do this and get the family involved and it goes pretty quickly. I was told that bean seeds germinate better if they are beside another bean seed. And so often when I plant like small beds of green beans, I'll do 2 seeds right beside each other, but it takes double the amount of seeds. And for a big area like this, I just decided not to do that. These are brand new seeds, and so I really feel like they will germinate really well. Now, if they were old seeds, like maybe a year or like 2 years old or something, I would probably put 2 right beside each other. Next, we're gonna be planting dark red kidney. I really like these for chili and things like that, much better than the black beans. We might plant a few of the black beans just because I think we're gonna run out of these, but I really like the kidney beans better, like just the taste and stuff. We ran out of the Tiger's Eye and the kidney beans, so I went inside and got some black beans. These are organic black beans just from our storage bulk food. And we're gonna finish out these 2 tiny rows with these black beans. I am planting these seeds double just simply because they've been in my basement for a while. I will say, like, when I soak them to sprout them inside, they sprout fine, so these should do great.
With all of the planting going on and everything else going on a homestead in the spring, I tend to struggle a lot with overwhelm, and it's something that I've struggled with my entire life. On a homestead, there's always so much to do, so much to get done, so many things to take care of, and it can be really overwhelming. And we want to give you strategies to help with that, but sometimes you're going to need more than just our simple strategies. For me, and I'm sure for a lot of you, it goes deeper than just so much to do. I have some form of ADHD, and it can be really hard for me to stay focused on the things that are the most important to get done. And the best thing that I found to help with stuff like that is therapy. That can be a hard word for some people to hear, but it really doesn't have to be. We've been through therapy for our marriage. Michelle has gone through it personally. I've gone through a lot of it, and it really does work. The sponsor of today's video is BetterHelp. It's online-based therapy, so you can talk to a licensed therapist via phone call, video, chat, or messaging. It's so simple, especially if, like us, you live out in the country and it's far to drive anywhere. You just go to their site, answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you with a professional who has had years of experience helping people with struggles just like mine and yours. You'll usually be matched with a therapist within 48 hours, so you can get started very quickly. I was matched with mine in less than a day. And if something's not working out with the therapist that you were matched with, it's really easy to switch, and it's free. Use our link to go to their site for a special discount. It's betterhelp.com/morethanfarmers, or you can choose our channel at sign up. And if you have any questions about the brand, like how therapists are licensed and vetted, how the brand handles customer privacy, or even therapist compensation, I'll include a link in the description below that goes into all of these questions and more.
Always, 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 always water in your seeds. Doesn't matter if it's supposed to rain that evening, always water in your seeds. It really helps the dirt to settle around your seeds, and the number one key for germination is moisture. I had a lot of people telling me that watering during the day in the hot sun is not a problem. They said it's a myth, that it will burn your plants, and I'm just gonna push back a little bit on that. In my experience, it's all about what you're watering, so like cabbage plants and things like that are not going to mind being watered during the heat of the day, but I have actually burned things like lettuce, seedlings that are really tender. If you water those during the day when there's really hot sun, it will burn them, because I have done it multiple times. This sweet corn that we planted over here is coming up really nice. We had done the math to try to make so that if we planted popcorn next to it, that they would not cross-pollinate. So now it's time to plant popcorn. We're just gonna do 3 rows. We don't need a massive amount of popcorn. We're gonna be doing ladyfinger. Really excited about this. This year we have a little bit more space. We're still keeping things really simple, but we do have a little bit more space. Cody really wanted to do dent corn this year to make like cornbread and things like that. But I just kind of felt that we might be overdoing it if we add too many things in. We're adding in dried beans and popcorn this year, so maybe next year we'll do some dent corn. Popcorn is kind of fiddly to plant. It's so tiny.
But those tiny kernels make the best popcorn. That ladyfinger popcorn is so good. Gourd. It's so good.
So gourd.
We have planted popcorn in years past. We haven't planted any in the last few years because we planted so much before and it just lasts in our basement, so we keep using it. But it's time to plant some fresh stuff. We have planted another variety called Dakota Black before. That stuff was really good. It's like actually a black kernel, and when it pops, the outside is like a really stark white, the inside is black, and it looks really cool, and it does taste good, but not as good as that ladyfinger stuff. That ladyfinger popcorn just melts in your mouth.
Popcorn is another one of those really simple things to grow. You literally just let it go until it's completely dried on the stalk, and then you take it inside and store it in buckets, and you don't have to preserve it in any way, which is so cool.
I'm actually not just a huge fan of salted popcorn. Even back in my junk food eating days, the smell of that buttery microwave popcorn just like made me sick. Never liked it. But I do absolutely love caramel popcorn that Michelle makes. You can make a caramel with basically just maple syrup and butter, and then you put that stuff on this popcorn and it is incredible. I can eat a whole bowl of it myself.
Not like we would recommend that.
I'm gonna go put this away because we're done with this, but we do still have a couple more things to plant. The next thing we're gonna plant is something we're hoping to attract pollinators into our garden with, including our honeybees. And speaking of those honeybees, I haven't done an update on those in a while, so I wanna take you and do an update on those real quick. Our hives are right over there, but before we go in there and look at those bees, I wanna show you something else in our back field. There's a swarm in this swarm trap right back here. I don't know how big it is or how good of one it is, but there is definitely bees in there. I'm not gonna have time to put them into a hive yet this evening, but it is good to know that they're here. And that'll make so that my third hive is filled up, which is really sweet. The main thing that I wanna do this evening is take care of one of the hives over there that has a swarm in it that I caught recently. And if you remember from a few videos ago, Michelle tried to catch a swarm while I was on vacation. Didn't work out, they flew away. But only just like a few days after that, there was another swarm out here on this post, and I was able to catch that one and get it into a hive. So I've got bees in 2 hives right now, and that one with the swarm in it is the one that I need to add a few frames to and open up one of the openings. Uh-oh, that's not good. I didn't get frames in here soon enough. They've got brood and food on some of these frames here, so it looks like they're doing really good. This frame here, they really started to build out the side because there was no frame in front of it. I don't really want to have to waste it. I don't know what a professional beekeeper would do, but I think what I'm going to do is turn it around and put it all the way up against one edge. And that way they can still use this, fill it up with honey, and then maybe I can harvest the honey off of it later and cut it out. But that way they at least won't be building off of that and making all of their other comb really wonky. This comb up in the top here, I'm gonna have to get out of here though so that they start building straight comb on these frames. Ooh, this is heavy. That does have some capped honey in it. We'll eat that. I'm gonna push these frames all the way over to one side and then put a board on top of here so that the bees can't get up into the top, even with this little gap here from this misshapen comb. Now with those extra frames in there, I'm gonna leave these bees for a while, come back and check them after, you know, a couple weeks or so, see how they're doing, see if they're building. This hive here also needs to get checked. This is the one that made it over the winter. It was doing really well when I checked it, but I do need to go through it, make sure everything looks good, see if they've got any honey for me, but I'm not gonna have time to do it this evening. Yeah, you want a little snack? Hey kiddos, you want some honeycomb? Here, open your mouth, I'll put it in.
I am so excited for this next part that we're doing. I'm gonna try to plant the rest of this garden here, just a nice big square, in wildflowers. And I'm really hoping that the bees will just take over the garden. I've been like studying and learning a lot about all that bees do in a garden. They make fruit larger and sweeter. They make plants more productive. So I'm super excited about that. I got a hummingbird and butterfly mix, and then also a magic carpet mix that has like zinnias and daisies and all sorts of stuff in it. I'm just gonna like mix them together and then sow them lightly, and I'm gonna rake them in and then keep them watered. I read somewhere that a lot of wildflower seeds don't actually wanna be buried. They need light to germinate. So I'm just gonna kind of mix these all up and plant it. This doesn't look like that much seeds. This soil here is pretty loose. It was just tilled yesterday, and I'm also gonna rake this after I sow the seeds, so I think this should be fine. Okay, so I planted, what, 1/4 of it? I massively underestimated how many seeds would be in those tiny packets from Walmart. I feel slightly ripped off. Cody's gonna be going back to town this afternoon anyway, so he's gonna grab a couple more seed packets to finish out this section. The next thing we're gonna plant is up in the garden by the house. So with the whole planting wildflowers for the bees and stuff, I used to not pay a whole lot of attention to things like that. I guess I just didn't see the value in like getting pollinators into my garden and stuff. But the more I study, the more I realize that everything in nature just depends on other things to thrive. There's so many like different components in every ecosystem. And one thing I've been thinking about so much lately is just how even in diet culture, like whenever you start like eliminating all kinds of foods, it's just like an ecosystem. Like when you get rid of one piece of that, other things start suffering down the line. Bees and mosquitoes and spiders and flies and snakes and all of those things can be really annoying. But when you spray and get rid of all of those different pieces of your ecosystem and then things start falling apart. I personally think the same thing goes for foods. Like a lot of people are like, oh, stop growing vegetables, just eat meat because meat is so much more bioavailable, all the things. While I believe that meat is like very good for you, I still just feel like if you cut out all the other food groups like fruits and vegetables, you're going to be hurting yourself in the long run because every single thing is needed for balance in a whole and healthy body. And I just feel like the same thing goes for your garden with bees and things like that. I just put so much more stock in small pieces of an ecosystem like that than I did before. So in past years when I've planted squash, I've had years where my squash really didn't do good. They would like start a tiny little squash and then it would just stop and like fall off, like the end would rot a little bit and it would fall off. And I never knew what caused that. I just kind of assumed it was some kind of deficiency in the soil or something. And then recently I had someone tell me it has to do with those squash flowers not being pollinated. And so some light bulbs went on with that. Some of the things like that are reasons why I wanted to get pollinators into my garden with wildflowers and stuff like that. I'm planting this patty pan squash instead of zucchini. It's a summer squash. It's not like an actual zucchini, but the black zucchini and the yellow zucchini just like succumb to bugs and disease so quickly here. And these patty pan squash are amazingly resistant. So this is what I do, and I use it just like I would zucchini. Like I make zucchini brownies and all the things.
This is the 4th video in our garden planting series, and if you missed the others, those will be in a playlist on the screen here. If you already watched those, that's fine. There's another video here you can watch to get your mind rolling on how to use your garden produce before harvest season actually comes. That will be my third. I need a glass of milk.